Morning, friends. Howdy, everybody. Mike's MMA Picks here with your Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown show brought to you by BetDSI as well as MMA Oddsbreaker. It's May 30th. We've got fights tonight at UFC Apex. Tyron Woodley taking on Gilbert Burns. Should be a hell of a main event. Only 5 fights are expected to end inside the distance currently. Fights will be taking place inside of an octagon that is, well, the larger octagon is 44% larger than the one that we'll be seeing tonight. Let's get things kicked off. First fight of the card, we've got Chris Gutierrez against Vince Morales. This fight's going to be taking place at 145 pounds. Both of these fighters have typically fought at 135 pounds. We've got Chris Gutierrez sitting at minus 116 right now, 8,300 DraftKings price. And on the other side of the fight, we've got Vince Morales, 7,900, minus 105. Vince Morales is Ricky Simone's cousin. Has had a tenure in the UFC as well as Bellator, coming off of a controversial loss to Benito Lopez. Morales has a big overhand right, doesn't use his wrestling as much as he should, and he's taking on a Chris Gutierrez who's coming off of a major knee reconstructive surgery he had in September of last year. He tore his ACL against De Freitas. So he was cleared back in February to begin training. And one of the things I'm concerned about is Gutierrez relies on his wheels to be evasive. He's a solid striker, throws some spinning attacks, pretty athletic, has a great gas tank, and he'll engage. But I have concerns about his durability in this matchup coming off of that ACL repair. I won't have a play on this fight, but I'm going to be picking Chris Gutierrez to be the more active fighter and to be landing the crisper punches during the exchanges. And I think Vince Morales is just not going to be busy enough to win rounds in there. He may be the heavier puncher, and who knows? Maybe his move with Ricky Simone with his cousin has helped during the quarantine. I know he's put in a solid camp. So Gutierrez fights out of Factory X, and I'm concerned about him coming off of that ACL repair. But give me Gutierrez to win this fight. Next up, we have Casey Kenney taking on Louis Smolka. Louis Smolka, 7,100, one of the lower priced fighters in DraftKings, plus 226 at the betting window. Casey Kenney, very well-rounded fighter. High price in DraftKings, 9,100, minus 286 at the betting window. Fights out of MMA Lab. Has some solid coaching over there. Has a great base of wrestling. Also has a judo background. Very, very well-rounded fighter. Solid gas tank. I don't have any issues when I watch his ability to go 15 minutes hard. He's been able to do that. He's been in some fights with some significantly larger opponents. Manny Bermudez came in, and we saw what happened there. The Ray Borg fight on short notice, you saw the versatility implementing his judo. What this fight is going to come down to, Louis Smolka has spent a lot of time at Team Oyama with Chito Vera and Alex Perez, and time in that training room I think has got to help Louis Smolka here. Problem is, though, Louis Smolka's been in the UFC since 2014. He was actually a minus 625 favorite against Brandon Moreno a few years ago, and he does have talent here. If this fight hits the ground, which it most likely will, multiple times. I do have some worries about Luis Smolka being able to use his length on the ground and take advantage of possibly finding the back of Casey Kenney. Casey Kenney's been able to outmuscle his opponents, and Luis Smolka is one to be outmuscled. In this spot, though, I would feel much more comfortable playing Casey Kenney if he was at minus 165, 175, 190-ish, when prior to odds hitting at bestfightodds.com, lines are out there, and he was actually at those numbers. Right now at minus 286, I don't feel comfortable recommending a play on Casey Kenney, but he should come through in this spot. Luis Smolka, always live in his fights, very wiry frame, tough as nails, seems to have put the alcohol behind him, and give me Casey Kenney to win that fight. By the way, first couple of fights on the card are both expected to go the distance, and that we don't typically see that. The curtain jerker typically is a fight that is going to be a banger, but not in these cases right now. Next up, we've got Tim Elliott taking on Brandon Royval. Very intriguing matchup here. DraftKings' favorite son, Timothy Elliott, 8,700 minus 164 at the betting window. Then you've got Brandon Royval, 10-4, 7,500 plus 137 at the betting window. Brandon Royval coming in with a 3.5-inch reach advantage, although appears to be subpar in the striking department. Look at Tim Elliott's record, 15-10-1. Tough guy to trust if you're betting on him, but we are looking at matchups here, and when I broke this fight down and I look at Brandon Royval's previous matchups, he's another guy who is susceptible to being big brothered out there. And Tim Elliott, that's something that he verbalized in interviews in the lead up to this fight. And Royval has some slick transitions. He is quick, he's young, he's hungry. He can chain submissions together. So these are concerns of mine. Also, you look at Tim Elliott's previous matchups. He's got caught by Devison Figueiredo, was being lit up by Askarov, and a 15-10 record. I mean, the guy suffered 10 losses. He's familiar with tasting defeat, but he's been in there with some tough competition. In this spot, though, I am leaning Tim Elliott to get the job done here. He's got a solid gas tank. We've seen Royval falter late in fights. Tim Elliott, when he's typically locked up in submissions, he'll buck out. He will not give up on himself typically. That Figueiredo, that guillotine was locked up though. So, but I think we're going to see a Tim Elliott here who's going to overwhelm Royval over the course of 15 minutes and big brother Royval. So give me Tim Elliott to win that fight. Next up, we're heading to the 205-pound division. We have Jamal Hill taking on Hill-Abreu. Hill-Abreu, his record is deceiving, 15-4. He's fought some high-level competition here in the UFC so far. He's been in there with Ankalaev, and Abreu 7,800 plus 102 right now. He was a significant underdog earlier last week, but odds have closed in this spot. Jamal Hill 8,400 in DK minus 125 favorite currently. Jamal Hill, when I watch his fights, southpaw, he's got a great step in knee, very straight punches down the pipe, throws 1-2 combinations, but reminds me a lot of a younger OSP when I watch him fight. But he doesn't have the jiu-jitsu game that OSP possesses. The stance of Jamal Hill is concerning, especially the fight. If the fight goes long in this small octagon, Abreu has taken down all of his previous opponents in the UFC, and in this spot, if he's able to get Hill down on the ground, which he has the ability to do, and he also has the smaller octagon to work with. You watch not only the Darko Stosic fight, but there have been some tendencies of Jamal Hill that really have opened my eyes. I'll be picking Klidson Abreu here to close distance, find a way to get this fight to the ground. He's going to be at a striking disadvantage here, but over the course of 15 minutes, I expect this fight to hit the mat, and I'm going to be picking an underdog here in Klidson Abreu to come through. What's going to be tricky, though, when you look at the DraftKings pricing for this card, you've got Daniel Rodriguez, who's a minus 333 favorite, priced at 7,300. Really throws a wrench into the situation. A lot of people are going to be hopping on him, and he'll be that quote-unquote free square, so to speak. So you have to really think about how you're going to get creative and separate yourself from the pack in regards to GPP plays, etc. Cash is going to be interesting too. Let's continue to move up this card here. We're headed to the fifth fight right now. We've got Billy Quarantillo taking on Spike Carlyle. This fight is at a catch weight of 150 pounds. Billy Quarantillo, 13-2 record. Had a stint on Tough a few years ago where he was kicked out. 8,600, minus 135 favorite for Quarantillo. Spike Carlyle, 9-1 record, has a solid jiu-jitsu and judo game. This Spike Carlyle is a wild man. The Alpha Ginger, he has very, very bizarre, if you listen to his pre-fight interviews and also how it translates into his fighting. He will throw the kitchen sink at you early, and this guy is looking for the finish. He, in his pre-fight interview, described one word how this fight's going to play out, and he said massacre. I have no doubt that that is going to be his approach here. Quarantillo, I want to see if he can weather the storm. Quarantillo looked solid in his octagon debut, but was facing some low-level competition in Kilbourne, and that's where we have to really consider matchups here. This is a case where Spike Carlyle could come out and big brother Quarantillo early. The challenge is, though, is Quarantillo going to be able to survive? And when he does, the tables should be turned late in this fight. And one way or another, I see this fight ending inside the distance. Right now, currently the inside the distance odds or fight not to go the distance was sitting at minus 195. I think this fight will end inside the distance. Quarantillo reminds me a little of Al-Iaquinta, his approach to fighting. He also is a teammate of Matt Steamroller Frevola. You can see a little bit of Frevola in his game, the toughness and the cardio. This fight, though, this is a tough one. I'm going to be picking Quarantillo to win this fight late by TKO, but I would not be surprised if Carlyle comes out here and just overwhelms Quarantillo early and gets him out of there. Carlyle could be that wild card in DraftKings. Next up, we're headed to the women's 125-pound division. We've got Antonina Shevchenko, older sister of Valentina, taking on Katlyn Chookagian. Shevchenko's coming in with a 2-inch reach advantage. Shevchenko 8,500 in DraftKings, minus 147 favorite. Chookagian 7,700 plus 124 underdog. I'm expecting high ownership of Chookagian in DraftKings. 31 years of age. Chookagian, though, if you think of recency bias, she's coming off of getting shellacked by Valentina. And I personally consider Valentina Shevchenko to be the greatest women's combat athlete of all time. And the Shevchenko sisters, although they've been training together, Antonina has the Muay Thai background, and we saw she was willing to go life and death with Lucy Pudilova in her last fight. She does have somewhat of a submission game that we also saw Roxanne Modafferi have her way with Antonina. Couple of things. A couple of my tweets ended up on Cody Safdie and Paul Shaughnessy's podcast. I appreciate them. Thank you for the shout out, guys, and you guys do awesome work. I appreciate your work. So my tweet was Katlyn Chookagian has gone 0 for 16 on takedown attempts in her UFC career, 9-fight UFC career. Mark Henry imploring her to take the fight to the ground against Irene Aldana, and went 0 for 11 in that fight. Really ridiculous. She seems averse to committing to the takedown. She gives up on herself. Even when she's got both hands clasped behind the legs of her opponent against the cage, she is not able to successfully complete takedowns. This fight, though, even though it's in a smaller octagon, I see it being a stand-up affair. This fight is not expected to end inside the distance. You look at it right now. Fight to go the distance, minus 515. I don't like what I've seen from Chookagian as far as her head movement and her striking defense. So how is she going to win this fight? So this is tough call, because I'll be honest, prior to tape, I was thinking Chookagian would be a solid underdog pick, and then the more I looked into it, I thought Antonina may be the pick, but I don't feel comfortable selecting her as a confident play, as a favorite in this spot. I think we're going to see a hungry Chookagian who's going to be a little bit more active. And this fight has split decision written all over it. I'm going to be picking Katlyn Chookagian to win this fight, though tough fight to call. She's going to have to up her accuracy in this fight if she wants to come away with the victory, because a lot of Chookagian strikes end up hitting air. And I will be watching this fight with the mute button activated. Next up, women's 115-pound division. We've got Hannah Cifers taking on Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie-Dern with a 1-inch reach advantage, although I don't think this fight is going to play out for very long on the feet. We didn't get much recency bias as far as pricing goes for Mackenzie-Dern, although she is coming off of a beating by Amanda Ribas. Mackenzie-Dern also was coming off of having her first child. Mackenzie-Dern, 9,300 in DraftKings. She's up there. Minus 417 favorite currently. And then you've got Hannah Cifers, 6,900 in DK, plus 317 underdog. How's this gonna play out, folks? Mackenzie-Dern, not very technical on the feet. We'll be looking to take this fight to the ground as soon as possible. And I see her implementing that game plan and also locking up a submission. We saw Angela Hill, who is not the... she doesn't have the best ground game. You looked at when she was in there with Claudia Gadelha, staying the hell out of there. In this fight, though, Hannah Cifers showed some deficiencies on her back. Man, we had a sweat when Hannah Cifers was fighting Jodie Escobar. So what the hell do you expect to happen in this spot? There is a chance that Cifers could catch Mackenzie-Dern coming in. I wouldn't put that past her. I'm going to be avoiding the money line on Mackenzie-Dern. Extremely wide. This fight is expected not to go the distance at minus 245. Pick's going to be Mackenzie-Dern to win this fight via submission. She may end up landing a bunch of transitions, which could be potentially helpful in your DraftKings score, but she's not going to be landing a lot of strikes. And also, she could end up with first-round submission, and you have to wonder if she's going to pay off that price in DraftKings. We'll see. Got to get creative out there sometimes. Next up, we have a late notice replacement, Gabriel Green, coming in to take on Daniel Rodriguez at welterweight. Gabe Green typically fights at lightweight, 9-2 record, 6,800 in DK. He's your lowest priced fighter, plus 262 underdog. Rodriguez coming in with 1.5-inch reach advantage, 7,300 in DraftKings. I mean, that jumps right off the page. As a minus 330 favorite, 7,300. I expect Rodriguez to be that free square. Rodriguez, durable, has a solid jiu-jitsu game, underrated. Has spent some time with Cerrone recently, but also has worked, I believe, at 10th Planet. Came in and surprised me against Tim Means. Tim Means seemed to be working over Dan Rodriguez early in their fight, and then you saw the durability come into play. And this guy is tough as nails, Rodriguez. And I expect Rodriguez to win this fight inside the distance. There should be a significant size difference in the cage. Give me Rodriguez to be the more accurate striker, to be landing leg kicks, and also, I'll be honest, I watched Gabe Green's fights. I went back, and you never want to just, when you have a late notice replacement, take it at face value and say, oh, all right, yeah, this is a given. This big favorite's going to come through. You have to look at each side of every fight. There are two sides to every fight. I wasn't impressed what I saw in Gabe Green. I'm going to be picking Dan Rodriguez to win in this spot. Some of Gabe Green's games some of the stuff in Gabe Green's game looks elementary to me, and he's going to be at a significant size advantage. Daniel Rodriguez should win this fight. And Rodriguez has an 11-1 record. He's a gamer, man. Not a high-level fight, but styles make fights, and you have to look at each matchup. Next up, we're headed to the co-main event of the evening. We've got Blagoy Ivanov taking on Augusto-Sakai. Augusto-Sakai, 29 years of age, 8,200 in DraftKings. Minus 116 favorite currently. Ivanov, $8,000 in DraftKings, minus 103. I was shocked when I saw Francis Ngannou's Instagram page and also Ivanov. How the hell is someone a sparring partner, a training partner for Francis Ngannou? I'm wondering how those sessions went in the gym. Little concerned. I know Ivanov has had a tremendous chin throughout his career. Not the most active fighter. Ivanov, 3.09 strikes landed per minute, and also absorbs 3.93 strikes per minute. Ivanov has a sambo game. He should be there late in the third round. Sakai, 5.51 strikes landed per minute, also 3.77 strikes absorbed per minute. This fight, though, you look at youth, you look at less damage taken, you look at durability, you look at pace, you look at each skill set that fighters bring to the table. And Sakai likes to stay on the feet, though he does have a jiu-jitsu game. I suspect this fight is going to play out on the feet. Sakai has some solid Muay Thai. Seems to be the cleaner striker. The Ivanov fight against Rothwell. Rothwell is a sitting duck. And he was not getting off on him in that spot. Sakai is going to be the more active fighter. Reminds me, I was thinking, like, who does this guy remind me of? I watch his fights, and he reminds me of a more refined Bigfoot Silva out there. And he's much more durable. Hasn't been finished. I suspect Sakai is going to be there at the end of these 15 minutes. Physique looks a little bit better. An arrow, to me, is pointed up. This fight's expected to go to a decision. I like Sakai here. And I don't mind a play if you're able to get him near evens in this spot. I also think that the lack of fans in this spot is going to be potentially helpful here, because they're going to see the commentators and the judges they're going to see a difference in total strikes landed here, and that should be a difference maker. Look out for Ivanov, though, trying to get this fight to the ground. We head to the main event of the evening, my friends. We've got Tyron Woodley, now 38 years of age, coming off of the loss to Kamaru Usman, taking on Gilbert Burns, who's been like a rocket, rattling off win after win after win. Gilbert Burns, 7,400 plus 153 underdog. Gilbert Burns, 33 years of age. Gilbert Burns looked to be the larger fighter at weigh-ins today, or yesterday. This fight isn't expected to go to a decision at minus 195. We know Woodley brings that tremendous wrestling background to the table, but he doesn't typically use the offensive wrestling. Uses his defensive wrestling to create opportunities to land his power punches. 8,800 for Woodley. That's a high price to pay. Minus 192 over at BetDSI. This fight, if Burns wants to win this fight, he's going to have to come out early and put it on Tyron Woodley and force Tyron Woodley to exchange with him and get busy. That's a dangerous proposition, though, because Woodley can break people. He's done it on the feet, and he has the potential to do it on the ground, but I don't think he's going to want to head to the ground with Gilbert-Burns in this spot. I see value on Burns at plus 153. This fight, though, it is a little sketchy because you get Tyron Woodley, who is he's got the wrestler mentality, the winner mentality, who he's not used to taking losses. You look at his entire career, and he's never lost back-to-back fights. This is somebody who has 24, 25 total fights and never lost back-to-back fights. But then you look at the other side of the fight, and Gilbert-Burns, he's never lost back-to-back fights. Granted, he hasn't faced the same level of competition, and it's been at a different weight class. 18-3 record for Gilbert-Burns. But in this spot, though, I expect Gilbert-Burns to come out and press the action, frustrate Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley's going to look to back himself against the cage, throw bombs. Woodley did not look the same at weigh-ins yesterday. There is a time and a place when fighters start to fall off. You listen to his pre-fight interviews, he said that he was in a depressive state at one point. I don't put too much stock into that. Woodley should be a hungry fighter. It's a tough fight to call. But I'm going to be leaning the underdog here, Gilbert-Burns, to get this done. And I see a little bit of value on Gilbert-Burns in this spot. So we took a half unit stab at plus 155. Give me Gilbert-Burns to surprise some folks and win this fight. If you want to head over to MMA Oddsbreaker, you can take a look. I have a premium play over there. There should be a link in the description of the video once it gets uploaded. I want to thank BetDSI as well as MMA Oddsbreaker for hosting the podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at MikesMMAPicks. You can also follow me over at betmma.tips. Want to thank everybody for tuning in, and I want to wish you a tremendous fight day. Remember, friends, go get what's yours. And we have lots of cards coming up. So one thing I've been doing is offering some subscription packages as well over at MMA Oddsbreaker if you want in on my premium plays. Have a wonderful day. Go get what's yours, my friends. Be well.